Hello and welcome. I am Adelina. I do study with me live streams and other types of motivation content here on YouTube, and I am a public law master's student on European law. Welcome. Today I will be talking about purpose and how to find your purpose, kind of discover your calling, your life's task, whatever you want to call it. And I don't have it with me right now, but it's mostly going to be based on Robert Greene's book Mastery, and I will tell you guys briefly about his theories and his method for finding your purpose in your life's task and pursuing that. Of course, we're just going to be dipping our toes because his books are very in-depth and I recommend you reading them. And the purpose of this video is kind of just to provoke your thoughts about this subject and make you think more deeply. And I will also be sharing my own experience in the end after I have kind of concluded what Robert Greene thinks about this and how he thinks we should go about it. So stay for that. Robert Greene begins by talking about the way how we all are unique. Our own unique genetic makeup has never occurred before and will never again occur in the future. And he means that when we go this journey of finding our purpose, we should always base it on our uniqueness, the fact what makes us unique, how we can contribute with our uniqueness. Robert Greene begins by talking about how we all are unique. Our genetic makeup is unique. It has never occurred before. It will never again occur in the future because it's just like a snowflake. None is the other alike. It's just like fingerprints. Nobody has your fingerprints. It means that you are a unique composition that nobody else can imitate. And that in of itself should be the starting point of the journey of finding your purpose, looking at your own uniqueness. And ways to do this by Robert Greene's theories is to start looking into your childhood. Look at natural inclinations you had as a child. Ask a person who recalls your childhood and ask that person what your natural inclinations were as a child. Robert Greene means that we should do this because as children, we weren't as affected by outside desires. We were drawn to certain experiences while we were drawn away from others, and it came natural to us. We hadn't been as influenced then. We hadn't heard as much from our parents. We hadn't heard as much from our peers. And he means that this shows a kind of primal, more pure inclination. So that would be his theory of how to find your purest inclinations. Marie Curie, for example, at 4 years old, she would sneak into her father's study. She found this glass of laboratory physics, I think, instruments, and she would look at them. And she would be so fascinated by them. She would imagine different experiments she could do with them. And that's what she liked to do at 4 years old. She would often sneak into her father's study and look at that glass. And later, as an adult, when Marie Curie walked into a lab, she immediately found her vocation. She found her purpose. She found something she had been obsessed with as a child and kind of felt that inclination, that vocation rushing back. And that's an example of how someone was very drawn towards something as a child and as an adult later discovered. It's like a feeling of that's what I must do, that's what I gotta have, that's who I am. Clues to experiences that mean you have found your purpose are that you feel this sense of power doing this certain activity, or that you feel fascination, or it's a subject you never really got tired of. Robert Greene warns about 3 hurdles or drawbacks that can happen that really stuck out to me. He says more things, but these 3 actually really just stuck out to me. And the first one is that what if you have this big drawback, this painful loss? For example, Freddie Roach, he was forced to retire from boxing, but Robert Greene says, don't feel sorry for yourself. Don't let this ruin your path. Look at Freddie Roach. He found a way back to boxing. He became one of the greatest boxing coaches. He found a way back to the competitive sports that he liked. He found a new creative way to apply his skills. So Robert Greene warns about that. Don't feel sorry for yourself if you have a big drawback. Be creative and find your way through that limitation. Number 2 is the skills you acquire. What if you already have acquired? What if you think like, I already wasted so much time. I already acquired so many other skills that have nothing to do with my purpose. Robert Greene says, don't worry, because you can take those skills. You can take everything you already have acquired. Don't throw it away, because you will lose. The world is like that. So you take those skills, you apply them in a new way, you redirect them towards your purpose. You figure out a way how to use them to get to your purpose, or to a version of your purpose. And number 3 is the false motivation for the purpose, and that is, for example, money, fame, or attention. Robert Greene warns that this never almost lasts, or if it is other outside influencers like parental desires, for examples, or peer desires. And this, he warns that this never lasts. It will actually just put you in a place where you eventually get stuck, because you will seek this fulfillment of money, of fame, of attention, of parental approval. But once you get it, it won't actually be as fulfilling as you imagined it would be. It's because it didn't come from you. It didn't come from within. It didn't come from that deep desire you want to fulfill, your life's task, your meaning, the things you are meant to do in this lifetime. Kind of conclude Robert Greene's argument, to kind of conclude my short version of his theories, I really recommend you read his book Mastery. It's an amazing book, very in depth. But to kind of conclude his argument is, number 1 is our purpose. How we find our purpose is not always by talents we used to show, or strong inclinations, or anything like that. It can also result from pain. So it can be something that gave you great pain, and whilst you wanted to so badly overcome that, you kind of found your purpose. Just like Temple Grandin, almost forgotten her name. She had a really painful experience with autism as a child, and she has, as an adult, made advances within the research for autism that has brought a whole new light to the field. So that's an example of how that can go. It's not only from talents. Your purpose can also derive from a great pain you felt. unique pain to you. And the last thing that is kind of another concluding remark of his theories is that your purpose doesn't have to be this big entrepreneurial thing. It doesn't mean that you have to become a multimillionaire or that you have to kind of invent something and run something by yourself. You can just as well find your purpose by being a part of a group of people or an organization or a company. But Robert Greene means that even in those situations, you should lean into your uniqueness and gently assert your point of view and gently leave your own remark on the quality of the work you do. It can, for example, be that you want to raise a family in the best way possible. Lean into your uniqueness when you do this. Lean into your weirdness when you do this. And that's how you can make that, how that can reflect that that is your purpose. Now I'm gonna go into my own experience and what I kind of discovered in my childhood. So but Dad used to like film us a lot. He had like this actual passion for filming, which he still has today, which is kind of funny because we're talking about purpose. But he used to record us a lot as children, and I had actually a lot of footage even when I used to live in Kosovo when I was 4 to up to 6 years old, approximately. And in many of these videos, I noticed that I had a natural affinity for school, and I was very excited to go to school, and I would perform different verses in front of my dad that I learned in school, and he would question me about stuff in school, and I just looked very excited to go to school. So that was kind of interesting. And I also noticed a book from 4th grade where I had made this resolution with myself to read 100 books in a month. They were very short books, many of them. But I had made this resolution with myself, which I thought was very interesting looking back, how I kind of had that inclination to do that, or the motivation to do that, or why I wanted to do it, why that was something I wanted to kind of challenge myself to do. That was also interesting to me. Going back like this, I started remembering so much stuff. I started remembering, I found some old short novels that are written from 8th or 9th grade, and the emotions that I used to feel then just washed over me. Remembering how kind of my shyness and awkwardness really used to draw me to writing and express myself in writing. And I guess that is an example of how Robert Greene says that a particular talent also can derive from pain. Something you're very drawn to can also be from a source of pain. Say you're very shy and awkward and it's hard to connect to others, you might want to express yourself in writing like I did, for example. I recalled text through way back from middle school where I rageful texts and poems where I express my wrath of the way that people usually have different rules for girls and how girls get ridiculed and how powerless I felt. And today I identify strongly as an intersectional feminist, and I'm involved with organizations who help women. And it made me think that I also chose a field which it's law, and law can make very practical changes. It can make you feel very powerful in that way to contribute to an argument that could actually have really practical changes in real life society. So it really made me think, to be honest, how the pieces fell together. As soon as we got introduced to learning languages in school, I was fascinated by the French language. I used to research the French culture a lot and I wanted to identify with it. And now I don't look at that as just a coincidence. Today I am able to actually participate in a research law project that requires that is a French project. So that's also interesting how I still get involved, still have the French language in my life so strongly. The last thing I wanted to mention is that I was extremely shy and drawn back as a child. But in the videos that my dad showed, I would actually get up to dance, whereas I would barely talk, would look down and would be very shy to talk. So that's very interesting too, because dance is my passion today. It's how I connect with myself. It's my main form of exercise. It is something that makes me feel very grounded and very comfortable. And that's also interesting how I so early found something that kind of made me feel present in my own body, something that my shyness were hindering me to feel comfortable with myself. So that's to say, it was really interesting looking into my childhood, and my interests may seem very scattered, but somehow they all connect for me, and they all kind of make sense to me. Something I kind of want to leave you with is how I love the unique perspective that Robert Greene provides, that a purpose doesn't necessarily come from a talent or a big dramatic inclination. It can actually come from a source of pain, how you overcame your own limitations, how you broke your own limitations in a very crazy way that no one else has done before. And honestly, I love that. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. I will see you next time. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of this, and tell me your discoveries in the comments. I would love to know and read that. I would be very curious if you feel like sharing. Thank you so much. Bye.
Hey, Adelina.
Tchau.
Sua mãe Didi.
Didi vai
Contra.
quem?
Tet.
Já escrevi.
Bravo. Vai, tica, cadolha. Olha, Adelina.